Kia ora, g'day. Hey, so look, this was meant to be just a nice little short video where I talked to Hester about some of the symptoms that she first noticed when she started out on this menopause journey. We did film that, and then for a couple of different reasons we decided to refilm it, which we did a few days later. Now, in between those 2 days, the lovely Dr. Linda Dare had been out and about talking about the results of the New Zealand Menopause Survey. Now, the results of this survey encouraged me to ask Hester a question that I've been meaning to ask her for quite a while. I thought I'd surprise her with it. It didn't really go as planned. It turns out our lines of communication were not necessarily as robust as I first thought. But we're going to be talking about that in the next episode. Anyway, check this one out.
I remember it really clearly. I was in a meeting with my people lead and couldn't remember her name. This was a person who I spoke to every day, and my mind was just blank, just empty, like a blank sheet of paper.
Right.
And I couldn't get her name. Couldn't at all. I'm looking at her and she's looking at me, and there's this awkward silence.
Was it a difficult name? No?
No. Even if it was, I still talked to her every day. I sent her emails every day. She was like,
right.
You know, and it wasn't the first time it had happened. I'd forgotten someone else's name who was in my team.
Maybe you just work with a lot of like really forgettable people. Did you ever think about that? Where were you working on?
No, I'm not saying where I was working, because it was actually quite shocking to me that I couldn't remember her name. Now, you know, I'm good with my memory. Like, I tell you stories and you're like, how do you remember that? Yeah. So I knew that this was...
Usually things that I've done wrong that you're holding over me, that's why.
I thought I had early onset of Alzheimer's. Now, I, like a lot of people, had watched the movie Still Alice. I knew, in my mid-40s I might be a little young for early onset of Alzheimer's, but it wasn't beyond the realms of possibility. So I went on to Dr. Google and looked up kind of memory loss, sudden memory loss, or brain fog, as I later found out another name for it. And good old Dr. Google told me that what was a very common symptom of menopause or perimenopause was this memory lapse or brain fog. So for me it was brain fog, headaches, pins and needles, itchy skin, distended bloating in the stomach, aches in my ankles, and I was getting, as I said, the night sweats every night, and that was making it difficult to sleep. I wasn't having a good night's sleep.
Yet you blamed it on my snoring.
That didn't help.
Why are we doing this tonight? We actually wanted to re-record this, didn't we?
Yes, this is
Why?
take 2. I can't remember why we wanted to re-record.
No, it was because you weren't happy with the angle or your posture, or also the fact that there was like a wet, like you had a wet patch.
Wet patch.
You had a wet patch on your t-shirt as well, didn't you?
That looked like I was having problems, which I obviously am because I'm menopausal.
Hey, actually, do you know what? That's a perfect segue, what you just said. Because you said, I'm actually menopausal. I want to do something different now than what we discussed we're going to do.
Okay. No, I've thought I've been, and this is, I'm actually really awkward and uncomfortable because I believe that we've talked about this a lot and that you have been cognizant of the fact that I'm perimenopausal and have been for a number of well, at least the last couple of years. I find it very strange, and I'm really struggling now.
I never heard you say I am perimenopausal or I am menopausal. We always kind of talk about stuff, and we always have a quite light-hearted approach to things. Whether it's something difficult to articulate, to say I'm now menopausal.
By saying you're menopausal, you're admitting you're old. You're also admitting that you have, from a biological standpoint, little more use. What you don't really comprehend until you're in the thick of it is the loss of confidence. Well, I mean, reflecting back to previous episode and your analogy of Downton Abbey, for 20 years, hopefully for most women, your body is acting like that every month. It's clockwork. You don't have to think about it. It's been run incredibly efficiently and effectively by the good old housekeeper, Mrs. Hughes. And then suddenly, it's no longer Downton Abbey. It's more Faulty Towers. And Mrs. Hughes is replaced by, I guess, Manuel, and orders are mixed up and trays are dropped and doors are slammed in your face. Things that you kind of just got, things are just misplaced. And I think that all kind of plays into why a lot of women don't want to talk about menopause, because they've also got no confidence. So why admit to something that's perceived as a weakness, which we should be turning it into actually a strength?
Was there ever a time where it was difficult for you to say, it's official, I am perimenopausal, and rather than just talking about the symptoms?
Well, until I kind of figured it out for myself, yes. And yes, probably it did take me a time to kind of, you try it on for size, don't you? You talk to a sympathetic audience, first of all, women of a similar age, and see what kind of response you get. Then you talk to a wider group, and you keep sort of experimenting the safeness of the environment and the reaction you get to that word. And then once you've kind of got that confidence, you can say it in any context. So I'm more than happy to shout menopause in a open plan office. Menopause! Yeah, so I think it's about kind of, strong women owning this stage in our lives and showing the world that we're a force to be reckoned with.